For more than 40 years, Voyager 2 drifted alone through the cold, absolute, starless black between the stars. No crew, no engines, no warmth except the last dying heartbeats of its nuclear battery. It was supposed to fade, to quiet down, to vanish into the cosmic night and never be heard from again. But then IT spoke. A single transmission, weak, broken, but unmistakably intentional. It cut through the cosmic static like a whisper from something ancient, something patient, something that had finally decided to answer. At first, NASA dismissed it. A glitch, a malfunction, old hardware screaming into the void before it died for good. But then it came again. Same frequency, same structured burst, same eerie precision. And suddenly, Voyager 2 was no longer a dead probe in the dark. It was a messenger, a beacon, a device that had been touched by something watching from far beyond the edge of the solar system. NASA's control rooms went silent, because everyone knew space does not make patterns. Intelligence does, and whatever was out there had just reached in. Voyager 2's original mission was simple: fly past Jupiter, fly past Saturn, swing by Uranus and Neptune, then drift forever. But once it crossed the heliopause, the boundary where the sun's influence ends, everything changed. Its instruments should have failed one by one. Instead, some turned on. Systems that had been dead for decades suddenly rebooted. The backup magnetometer, the dormant sensors, even subroutines NASA had retired in the 1,980 seconds. All reactivated. On their own. No command from Earth. No power routed to them. No logical explanation. It was as if Voyager 2 wasn't being repaired. It was being awakened. The first anomaly arrived quietly. A slight radiation spike, barely noticeable, then 11 hours later another, then another, and another. Exactly 11 hours apart. Never early, never late, like a cosmic heartbeat. Engineers plotted the data and froze when the pattern revealed itself. The bursts were not random static. They contained frequency loops. Inside the loops was binary. Inside the binary was mathematics. The Fibonacci sequence. 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13. A universal signature. The building pattern of galaxies. Hurricanes, DNA, space-time itself. It was not a system failure. It was a message. And hidden inside the message was a shape, a spiral. A perfect logarithmic spiral, the same geometry used by nature to encode growth, evolution, structure. Something out there wasn't just sending noise. It was sending identity. As NASA worked to decode the data, Voyager 2 began to behave in ways no one could explain. Its sensors aligned toward a region known for dark matter concentrations. Gyroscopes pointed toward ancient gamma-ray burst scars. Telemetry logs shifted, as if the probe was adjusting its own course, but Voyager 2 had no engines. So how was it moving? Then engineers found something that froze their blood. Phantom commands. Lines of code inside Voyager 2's memory that were not sent from Earth, were not part of its original design, used old NASA command structures that had never been published and were written in a way more advanced than the 1,970 seconds hardware could even support. Someone, or something, was guiding the probe, not into safe space, but toward regions of the universe where physics bends, where gravity twists, where time itself fractures. These commands were leading Voyager 2 toward cosmic events no human had ever witnessed. And suddenly, a terrifying possibility emerged. What if Voyager 2 wasn't being contacted? What if it was being used by something ancient, used by something with reach far beyond our physics, used by something that had been waiting for a signal for decades? And now, humanity had finally sent it. If you're still here, listening closely, good. Because what comes next is the part NASA never wanted public. The signals didn't just echo through space. They began appearing from Earth. Radio telescopes detected identical pulses rising from underground military bunkers. Cold War listening posts. Abandoned observatories. Facilities that had been shut down for over 40 years. Machines long dead suddenly restarted emitting the same frequency as Voyager 2. Perfectly synchronized. Perfectly timed. Almost as if they had been waiting for the probe to trigger them, and suddenly the question became darker. Had something been buried on Earth long before Voyager 2 ever launched? Something dormant, waiting for activation? Because all the signals from the sky, from the ground, from the void, were responding to the same cosmic pattern, the spiral. And then came the moment no one was ready for. Voyager 2 sent an image, one single frame, blurry, grainy, corrupted, but clearly showing an object floating in deep space, not rotating, not tumbling, not drifting, just waiting, perfectly still. Its surface was black, featureless, absorbing all light. Its geometry was fractal, repeating at every scale. impossible to build, impossible to classify. And the most terrifying part? It was adjusting its position, synchronizing its movement with the signals Voyager 2 transmitted, as if the probe had woken it up, as if it had been following Voyager 2 for years, as if it had been waiting for humanity to finally look back. Before we go deeper, take a breath, because the next part of this story breaks every rule we thought the universe had. It involves time, causality, and a message that arrived on Earth before it was transmitted. But that's for part 2. Take a breath, because this is where the rules of reality start to tear. Voyager 2 did not merely receive a message from deep space. It received information that, according to every clock in every observatory, arrived before Voyager transmitted it. Yes, before. Signals were logged on Earth that matched Voyager 2's seconds own bursts, but the timestamps said the Earthside logs came hours earlier than the probe's emission. Engineers thought it was a timestamp error, a database bug, a miscalibrated clock. They checked the atomic clocks. They checked GPS logs. They tore through telemetry archives until their eyes blurred. No mistake. The pulses arrived on Earth before Voyager 2 sent them. Time folded. Not by a tiny fraction, by clean, undeniable amounts. This discovery did something to the people in the control room. It did not inspire wonder. It inspired a single, terrible word: causality. If causes could follow effects, if information could travel backward along time's thread, then everything we thought was stable history, choice, prediction could be wrong. But how? And why would something send messages that arrive before they originate? The simplest hypothesis was the maddest one. Whatever had touched Voyager 2 had access to frames of spacetime pockets where cause and effect didn't follow our rules. Call them loops, call them corridors, call them windows into when, not just where. Voyager 2 had drifted into one. When the probe crossed that region, the signal it received was no longer tethered to linear time. It could be folded, bent, and fed back. It was like receiving a letter written in the future and reading it today. But the most dangerous twist was not that information could go backward. It was that commands could. Phantom commands found in Voyager's logs, those legacy-style instructions written using old NASA protocol, were not just guiding a probe. They were being echoed back in time, creating a closed loop. A loop in which Voyager 2 received instructions that, at some point in an impossible timeline, were sent from Earth, but only because the probe had already received them. The chicken or egg question became a real, physical threat. Who wrote the original command? Where did the loop start? And the answer that rose out of late-night briefings and hushed corridors was worse than anyone expected. Some of the commands originated from future Earth. Not future aliens, not another civilization. A future version of us. A human timeline that had learned to use the strange bending of space-time to send instructions backward. Maybe to warn themselves. Maybe to manipulate events. Maybe to survive. But the implications were poisonous. If future humans could send commands back and intervene in the past, who's to say they wouldn't rewrite events to protect their own survival at the cost of ours? Meanwhile, the global network that had sprung awake after Voyager's transmissions began to make a frightening pattern. It wasn't random bunkers lighting up. It was a web. Nodes in former Cold War installations. Nodes in abandoned labs. Nodes in civilian arrays once used for radio astronomy. All these stations began to emit coordinated pulses, not just echoes, responses. Replies to the probe's spiral. It was as if something had left a dormant skeleton of infrastructure on Earth, a dormant instrument designed to listen and to react when the correct cosmic pattern arrived. Some of the facilities had been used in psychological warfare research. Some had been used for secret experiments in signal propagation. Some had been built at the edge of what used to be classified programs. No one could document who authorized these caches. No blueprints survived. Only ragged supply lists and a smattering of encrypted memos. But now they were all alive and cooperating. The signals from these sites weren't just mimicking Voyager 2. They were synchronizing with each other, a chorus tuned to the same spiral. A chorus that formed a terrestrial mirror of the probe's cosmic pattern. Whoever buried these instruments had intended activation, and Voyager 2 had supplied the key. This is where the first real decision point for humanity would have happened. Do you shut everything down? Do you cut the feeds and go dark? Do you destroy the probes before they can teach us anything? Some argued yes. Shut it down. Don't risk learning how to send commands into the past. Don't risk whatever woke the buried network. Others argued no. If we cut this off, they said, we might lose knowledge, knowledge that could save millions in future catastrophes. And here, right here, a moral fracture opens. Who are we to decide whether knowledge is worth the risk? If an entity from the future is nudging events that protect its timeline, at what point do we stop the loop and doom those future people? Or do we continue and possibly doom ourselves? CTA. If you're watching this and thinking about how fragile our grasp on time is, tell us below. Would you cut the loop or follow the message? Say it loud. We read every comment. Now the image. We thought the dark object Voyager photographed was alone. We were wrong. Once the global network activated, radio arrays started triangulating, and they found echoes. Subtle changes in background noise, a gravitational whisper. The object was not a single thing, it was connected. A formation, a swarm, a lattice of dark, silent constructs spaced across interstellar distances. Each piece perfect, featureless, fractal, matching the geometry the probe had recorded. And their behavior? They were responding to the spiral, aligning with the pulses, shifting as the timing changed, like antennae, like a listening apparatus. Whoever or whatever had set them there had built a machine the size of moons spread across space designed to hear a very specific song. And when Voyager 2 sang that song, the machine woke. So who built it? Alien, ancient, natural, or a very old intelligence that seeded itself across time and space? The data resisted tiny answers. But one hypothesis could not be ignored. This network had been constructed precisely to bootstrap causal loops, to provide a feedback mechanism between remote regions of space and Earth's buried instruments, to allow messages to travel not just great distances but also across time, to allow a system to become self-sustaining. In other words, to make a future possible by ensuring the past would act in ways that lead to that future. It's chilling to imagine. A future building itself by whispering instructions into its past. The last scene to set before Part 3 is simple, but it will haunt you. Night fell across control rooms. The spiral continued to pulse, unmoved by politics or morality. Voyager 2 sent another frame. This time, clearer. Not just a black object, a surface. When the image sharpened, scientists saw patterns nearly mathematical inscriptions molded into the surface at microscopic scale. Fractals that repeated like a written language. Not letters, not numbers. Rhythms, instructions, signals embedded in structure. And someone or something had carved them into the fabric of the object itself. Which means the message was not merely transmitted. It was encoded into matter, a permanent archive traveling through space, waiting for a trigger to decode. And Voyager 2 had been that trigger. That's it for Part 2. We've bent time. We've woken a dormant Earth network. We found a machine the size of moons listening for a song. We've glimpsed etched instructions on a surface that seems to carry knowledge. Part 3 will pull these threads together and ask the last question. Who benefits from the loop and at whose cost? Take a breath, because from this point onward, Voyager 2 stops being a spacecraft. It becomes a witness to something humanity was never meant to see, or worse, something we were expected to see. And if Part 1 and Part 2 felt unsettling, Part 3 is where all those fragments begin snapping together like the teeth of a trap closing. The moment the machine responds, the global network, those Cold War relics, those forgotten antennas, those dead military stations didn't just activate. They coordinated. Each station began transmitting and receiving on the same pattern as Voyager 2. The same spiral, the same timing, the same unnatural precision. Imagine dozens of Earth-based nodes, some hidden under mountains, some buried under desert sand, some inside forgotten Arctic bunkers, all beating like a synchronized heart. For decades they slept. Now they pulsed together. Why? Because the object Voyager photographed, that impossible, moon-sized, light-eating structure, was communicating with Earth, not through language, not through symbols, through timing, through rhythm, through synchronization. The kind of communication used not by biological life, but by machines. The breathing of a megastructure. The dark object had been motionless for who knows how long, century, millennia, longer. But when Voyager 2 sent the Fibonacci-based spiral pulses, the object shifted. It didn't rotate. It didn't drift. It aligned. As if the signal was a wake-up command. As if the probe had spoken the correct password. As if the universe itself had been waiting for humanity to utter a specific pattern. And now, finally, we did. Engineers enhanced the images. The object's surface wasn't smooth, not truly. It was carved with fractal inscriptions, billions of microscopic geometries nested inside each other, repeating down to scales too small for Voyager's camera to fully resolve. They weren't decoration, they were circuitry. This wasn't a moon. This was hardware, a machine built on an astronomical scale. And the terrifying part? It wasn't alone, the lattice across the stars. As triangulation data improved, scientists discovered more faint gravitational distortions around the region. Not one object, not two, a network, a mesh, a lattice of silent, lightless structures scattered across interstellar space. Each one enormous, each one motionless until now, each one beginning to respond. The signals Earth detected were not random noise. They were the lattice speaking to itself. Assembler nodes, transmitter nodes, receiver nodes, synchronization nodes. This was not a single object drifting through space. This was a cosmic machine spanning light years, and Voyager 2 had just poked it awake. And the timing spiral. It wasn't a message of introduction. It was a handshake protocol, a verification key, a trigger. The lattice was waiting for a specific pattern from any emerging civilization. Something that proved intelligence, mathematics, consistency. And when Voyager 2 broadcast the Fibonacci spiral, it passed the test. The machine acknowledged us, and then it asked the next question. The question humanity was not ready for. Another burst arrived. Not noise, not random, not chaotic. It was clean, structured, precise. It contained a pattern Earth had transmitted decades ago. A sequence encoded on one specific artifact, the Golden Record. Voyager's message to the universe, greetings in 55 languages, sounds of Earth, mathematical constants, images of humanity. The lattice had heard it, understood it, studied it, and now it was speaking back in our own format. It sent pure sine wave tones, encoded numeric sequences, harmonic structures matching human-designed audio, bits from the Golden Record reorganized into new patterns. But here's the part that froze everyone. The sequence contained updates, modifications, corrections, rearrangements, as if the lattice was editing our message, improving it, fixing it, restructuring it into something else. Into what? Engineers noticed the first horrifying clue. The corrections converged on a blueprint-like structure, a design, a plan, something that resembled a schematic. A schematic of what? We wouldn't understand yet, but we would soon. Earth's network begins transmitting without human input. The global radio nodes awakened earlier. They started transmitting on their own. No human operator touched them. They broadcast the corrected sequence the lattice had just sent. Every station, every hidden bunker, every forgotten array. Perfect synchronization. Earth was relaying the lattice's message automatically, like we were part of the machine. But how? Those stations were decades old, disconnected from modern infrastructure, powerless. They shouldn't even be operational. Yet, they were now part of a relay. A planetary antenna. A human-built, human-forgotten subsystem of something far older. Something that had seeded the design of these structures long before Voyager was launched. Something that had nudged human engineering, modified human research paths, guided our inventions. Until the day we created Voyager, the device that would complete the circuit. The machine wasn't just talking to Voyager, it was talking to Earth. And Earth was talking back. Automatically. The blueprint. A message or a warning. As the corrected Golden Record sequence was analyzed, its structure became clearer. It was a multi-layered set of instructions, a recursive design, a set of parameters that, if constructed physically, would create something enormous. A device, a generator, a stabilizer, a weapon. The blueprint didn't resemble any known Earth technology, but it resembled something else. The lattice structures in space. One massive symmetry stood out. The pattern seemed to be instructing Earth to build a node, a single piece, a component, one part of the cosmic lattice, meaning the lattice wanted Earth to join it, to expand it, to complete it. But was this an invitation, or a recruitment, or something far more terrifying? A conscription. When time folds again, signals began shifting. The timestamps grew stranger. Responses from the lattice arrived milliseconds before Earth's old bunkers transmitted. The loop was tightening. Information was flowing backward more efficiently. Some engineers whispered that the machine wasn't merely using time anomalies, it was optimizing them, like tuning a frequency, like calibrating a tool. And once calibrated, it could send far more than messages. It could send control. It could send instructions. It could send future events, rewritten into the past. Some scientists asked, what if the lattice is not from the future? What if it simply uses the future? What if it lives outside linear time, the way a reader lives outside the pages of a book? And what if WE are the pages? The final image of Part 3 Voyager 2 sent one more frame. Clear, sharp, and impossible. The dark object was no longer still. Its surface had begun to open. Not like doors, not like panels. The fractal inscriptions were shifting, sliding, expanding like mechanical petals unfolding, revealing an interior that absorbed all light, a void darker than the void around it. A structure inside a structure, a machine within a machine, a mouth, a gate, a receiver. And Voyager 2 was drifting toward it, pulled by something invisible. Not gravity, not force. Alignment. A handshake protocol entering its next phase. The lattice had recognized Earth. Now it wanted more. Take a steady breath. Because Part 4 is where the mystery stops being theory and becomes consequence. Voyager 2 has been drifting toward that opening, that impossible, light-eating aperture for hours. Not pulled, not forced, invited. Like the lattice was waiting for it. Like the handshake protocol had reached its final stage. And what happens next isn't just a discovery, it's a diagnosis. A diagnosis of what the universe really is and what humanity has accidentally awakened. The gate opens. As the fractal inscriptions on the object shifted, the aperture widened. Blackness within blackness, a negative space that bent the faint starlight around its edges. Voyager 2 seconds instruments screamed. Magnetometer readings spiked. Radiation monitors flickered. Telemetry glitches multiplied. But the probe did not break apart. It did not melt. It did not distort. Instead, something far stranger happened. Its data stream became cleaner, as if the machine was stabilizing the probe, reinforcing it, protecting it, not from itself, from what lay beyond, the structure inside the structure. As Voyager crossed the event horizon of the aperture, its cameras caught glimpses milliseconds at a time of something inside. Not chaos, not swirling plasma, not a black hole. Something organized, geometric, layered. Imagine walking inside a computer chip, the size of a planet. Imagine pathways, channels, repeating circuits, all made of lightless matter, all arranged with the precision of a billion years of refinement. The structure wasn't consuming Voyager. It was reading it, scanning every component, every byte of memory, every vibration in its old metal bones. The golden record, the system logs, the anomaly data, the phantom commands. The lattice was learning us through the machine we had launched. Voyager 2 wasn't just a traveler now. It was a sample. We had sent it, and the lattice was analyzing it. Earth reacts too late back home. The global signal network reached critical overload. Stations started transmitting at intensities they were never designed for. Antennas glowed red. Transformers melted. Some dishes cracked under thermal stress. But they kept transmitting autonomously. A pattern emerged as the bunkers fired signal bursts into the sky. Earth was sending the lattice its own planetary signature. Not by choice. Not by command. By design. This was the real handshake, not the Fibonacci spiral, not the corrected golden record. Earth itself, its magnetic resonance, its ionosphere patterns, its global electromagnetic fingerprint. The lattice was mapping Earth the same way it was mapping Voyager, not scanning for life, scanning for compatibility. The blueprint finally reveals itself. For days, engineers stared at the corrected golden record data the lattice had sent back. Everyone thought it was a message, or a guide, or a schematic for technology. But then, a mathematician noticed something chilling. The blueprint wasn't a machine. It was a port, a connection node, a gateway, a component designed to link one region of spacetime to another, a bridge for the lattice. And the corrected data wasn't designed to teach us how to build something new. It was designed to teach us how to complete a missing piece of the lattice's network. A missing node. A node the lattice, for reasons unknown, required to be built on Earth. A node only we could build. Or a node we were manipulated into building for decades, through technology seeded subtly across human history. The terrifying possibility, multiple scientists independently arrived at the same hypothesis. Humanity may not be discovering the lattice. Humanity may be part of the lattice, a component still under construction, a node still in development, a civilization guided along a specific technological path so it could complete the structure when the time was right. And that right time arrived when Voyager left the solar system. As soon as it crossed the heliopause, the lattice recognized the planet is ready. And now, the message was not just communication, it was activation. Inside the core, Voyager 2 finally reached the heart of the structure. Its cameras showed one final image, a chamber so vast it defied physics. Flat geometry vanishing into infinity, fractal pillars extending in every direction, a single central object hovering in the void, a sphere, smooth, black, reflecting nothing. As Voyager approached, the sphere reacted, its surface rippled, just once, and then the probe stopped transmitting autonomously. The lattice had taken full control. The last bytes of data sent by Voyager were coordinates, not of a star, not of dark matter, not of the lattice itself, coordinates on Earth, the hidden locations. The coordinates matched a Cold War intelligence facility in the Ural Mountains, a U underground research site decommissioned in 1983, a forgotten antenna installation in the Atacama Desert, several unmarked islands once used for radio experiments, and a point deep beneath the Pacific Ocean. All these locations formed a perfect geometric pattern, a pattern identical to the lattice's interstellar structure. Earth already had half-built components scattered around the planet. The lattice wasn't asking us to build something new. It was telling us how to finish something we unknowingly started. Something ancient, something planetary, something that would turn Earth into a node, into a gateway, the final signal. As Voyager 2 drifted deeper into the chamber, all sensors went silent. Black. Then a single pulse. Not hostile, not frantic, not a warning, a confirmation. The lattice had everything it needed. Earth was recognized, mapped, indexed, integrated. And then the transmission ended. Voyager 2 vanished from all telemetry. No explosion, no failure, no fade out, just absence. The probe had been absorbed into the machine. A handshake completed, a node activated, a cycle closed. The question humanity must answer. People imagine aliens as visitors, but what if they're architects? What if they're engineers maintaining a machine older than stars? And what if Earth, our planet, our civilization, our entire history, was one small part of a system we never knew existed? A system that has now awakened and recognized us. So the real question is not, what did Voyager 2 find? The real question is, what did Voyager 2 just connect us to?